Hey folks, happy opening day. The 2023 season is finally upon us, and it is a very, very exciting time of year. You obviously have March Madness winding down. That's always fun, but it also means that opening day baseball, the long winter is over. Opening day baseball is here. I'm putting this video out first thing on Thursday, March 30th morning, first thing on opening day morning, to kickstart this brand new season. A day I look forward to every single year. I'm actually going to be at Mets Marlins in Miami for opening day, my first ever opening day this year. Heading down to visit a buddy of mine, and we're going to check that game out. He's a Mets fan. I'm obviously a Yankees fan. I'll try to catch that game in the afternoon, but at 4, I think it's 4:10 or 4:30, I will be at Mets Marlins. So having a lot of fun there. So would love to hear from you guys down in the comments. What this video is going to be is kind of some of my predictions for the season. So division winners, World Series winners, different award winners, some various kind of just general predictions, bold predictions, whatever. So I'm going to run through a bunch of that stuff in this video, but I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments, just any of your fun experiences on opening day in the past, whether it be at the stadium or just from home, some great memories. And then I would love to hear some of your predictions down in the comments. So before we get started, I'm just going to ask you to like and comment and subscribe if you haven't done so already. So really looking forward to interacting with you guys and getting this brand new baseball season underway. All right, let's start with some predictions. So I'm going to run through a batting champion for each league, home run leaders, ERA leaders, and strikeout leaders to kick this thing off. So for the batting champions, AL and NL, I'm going to go with DJ LeMahieu in the American League and Xander Bogaerts in the National League. So, LeMahieu's won the batting title twice in his career before. I think both times he did it, he hit definitely over 330. One of the times he did it in Colorado, I think he hit something like 364. It's obviously in there, and I think he's going to play just enough this year that he should be able to stay healthy. I think the Yankees are going to have a nice rotation going with their infield, so he should play enough to qualify, but also little enough where he's not going to get hurt or it's going to really pull away from his production. So I do believe in a huge bounce back season from DJ LeMahieu this year after he suffered some injuries last year, and I think he can get back to his batting champion type ways. And then you got Xander Bogaerts on the National League side, now playing with the San Diego Padres. He's obviously going to be hitting atop a very, very dangerous, very, very great lineup. The guy's basically a lock to hit 300 every single year. I think he's done it, 4 out of the last 5 years or 5 out of the last 6, something like that. But he's basically a 310 or something career hitter. He's basically a lock to hit 300. So I think being in a really strong lineup like that now is going to translate into him getting up at the top of the leaderboard as far as batting average goes. The one thing also to note in terms of that is, with some of the new rules this year, obviously the pitch clock, we'll see if that benefits pitchers or hitters, but especially no more shift. I think we're going to see batting averages, at least on average, go up, maybe 10 or more points. But even on the high end, some of these guys who obviously hit for a high average aren't really getting shifted on. But I think we could see batting averages in general shoot up probably double-digit points this year. All right, home run leaders in the AL and NL. I'm going to stay home in New York for both of these and go with my man Aaron Judge, and just look at that beautiful, beautiful Donruss pink firework autograph to 99. I actually picked that one up off Professor Collector. But I'm going to go Aaron Judge in New York and Pete Alonso also in New York as the home run leaders in both leagues. Judge obviously hit 62 homers last year. I mean, I think he should easily hit another 50 this year if he doesn't, obviously miss any time. I doubt he repeats 60 plus, but who knows? I mean, this guy is showing no signs of slowing down. He had another really strong spring, and with any kind of health, he's going to, the Yankees lineup should be pretty good, at least the middle of it. And Judge is going to get a lot of pitches to hit, because even though he's the most dangerous hitter, in the league potentially, you got Rizzo behind him, Stanton behind him, some other really, he's got Volpe now setting the table. We'll get to him in a little bit, but Judge, I'm expecting big things out of him this year, so I would expect another 50 plus out of him. And even if I think he could regress by 15 or 20 homers and still have led the league in home runs last year in the American League. So I feel really good about him in the AL. And then Pete Alonso in the NL, I got big expectations for him in the Mets this year. Really him more so than the team. I do think they're a playoff team, but maybe not a division winner. But he hit 50 plus like his rookie year. I think he could potentially repeat that 50 plus again this year. Um, with the Metsies, this seems to be like he's kind of entering some of his prime seasons now. How old is Alonso? Is his birthday on the back here? I think he's 84, 94. Yeah, so he's like right in the middle of those prime seasons. He's going to be 28, 29 this year. So expecting 50 plus home runs from both of those guys here in the hometown from the hometown teams. All right, ERA leaders, AL and NL. I'm gonna go with Shane McClanahan in the AL, and this is just a beautiful, beautiful green auto to 99. I think I got this in a break. I don't think I pulled this myself. I think it came out of a break. So a really nice Shane McClanahan numbered auto, and then Max Fried in the National League. So McClanahan last year was top 5 in the league in ERA already in the American League, and I feel like he's only getting better. So thing with him is obviously going to be health. If he could stay on the field, maybe he's another guy who's kind of similar to LeMahieu, where he maybe does miss a little bit of time, or they skip some starts or whatever with him. But it should be enough to qualify, obviously, if he stays healthy. But I think this guy is a really strong case and is going to make a really strong case this year as one of the top pitchers in the league and potentially lead the league in ERA. Then on the Max Fried side, he was third in the NL last year, and he's been pretty much consistently a 3 ERA guy or less the last few years. I mean, this is his rookie card from 2018 tops. So he's been in the league a few years now, and really I think since 2020 maybe. He's just been an absolute stud. So expecting big things, expecting him to take a big leap forward this year. Really both these guys, 2 lefties. I'll have to go look up and see when the last time 2 lefties led the league in ERA. It was probably Kershaw, and then if there was another lefty in maybe one of the Kershaw years, Kershaw led the league in ERA like 5 different times. But I'm going to have to look that up to see if that has happened in the past, number of years. All right, strikeout leaders, AL and NL. Different names that we just saw. I'm going to go with Garrett Cole and Spencer Strider. And this is Cole's SP rookie from Series 1 in 2020 when he first came over to the Yankees. I think that they kind of photoshopped him in here or something. But this is his SP. He was still in his Pirates uniform in the main set. And I got the Spencer Strider autograph for the rookie auto collection I'm trying to put together, the complete set. Cole is just a really safe bet to me. In the last 5 years, he was first, second, third, first, and second in strikeouts in the league. So that's dating back to his days in Houston. So this guy just knows how to strike out American League hitters. He's a really, really safe bet to lead the league in strikeouts. Seems kind of like a no-brainer to me. So I'm going to go with him as that bet. And then for the National League, it's Spencer Strider for me. So, guy's known as Wild Thing. He kind of burst onto the scene last year. It was quite electrifying. And when you look at his entire full season, he actually led the league in strikeouts per 9 with like 13 and change. By like a pretty nice margin, he led the league in strikeouts per 9. That also takes into account his innings, in relief, obviously, and he didn't technically qualify because I don't think he had enough innings. But if he pitches a full season this year, he has health, and he pitches, a full season as a starter, this guy has such electric strikeout stuff that I think he's certainly going to be a very high strikeout pitcher this year for the Braves. So the Braves are in really good hands with those two guys at the top of the rotation, Fried and Strider. All right, I'm going to do some awards now. Comeback Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year predictions, Cy Young, and MVP. So we'll do 4 different awards. Comeback players in the AL and NL, I'm going to go with Brandon Lau and Michael Conforto. I originally had some different names jotted down here. In the NL, I originally actually had Joey Votto because I do think that he's going to be like a late career resurgence guy. 2 years ago, he like redid his whole swing and he had a wonderful, wonderful year. And then last year, he kind of went down a bit, and then I think he might have kind of try to ride off into the sunset this year with a big bounce back year. But I actually decided to go with Conforto and Lau. So you got the Gypsy Queen auto here, and then this is actually a Topps Update All-Star Game SP. I believe this is an SP of Conforto from, what is this, 2018 or 2017 Topps Update. So talked about Lau in my AL East preview video a little bit. I think that he's a guy who had some back injuries last year. He was really his numbers were really down. I think they tend to give these awards to guys who not just had like bad years and come back, but like suffered some sort of injury or whatever. Another guy that would be kind of in the running for this would be like a Fernando Tatis. Obviously, like he didn't play at all last year, but I think just given the suspension and other things, they just wouldn't give it to him. So I'm not going to consider him there. But yeah, going back to the AL side, Lau had a really down year last year in terms of batting average. He was sapped of power, but there were a lot of reasons to believe that he kind of has some upside. He was still hitting the ball pretty well, even given his injury. He might have ran into some bad luck, and I think he's had himself a pretty nice spring. So I do expect a nice bounce back from him. He's going to be a centerpiece of that Rays lineup if they plan to contend at all. And then Michael Conforto was completely out of baseball last year. So he had a shoulder injury. He wasn't in baseball at all, but he was a really, really good player before, in the couple of years before. I think it was his last year he didn't play. The year before that, he kind of had a down year. But I think he could have himself a nice bounce back year with the Giants. He might not hit for quite as much power. Obviously, it's a big park. He's a lefty. It's tough to hit balls out into that bay. But I think he could be a doubles machine out there, hit for a pretty nice average. And just given the fact that he hasn't played meaningful baseball in over a year, I think that he's going to be a prime candidate for on comeback player of the year lists this upcoming season. All right, rookies of the year. I'm going a little chalky, and a little not. So AL and NL, I got to go with my boy Anthony Volpe on the AL side. And then I'm going to go with a chalky pick of Corbin Carroll on the NL side. So I'll start with Corbin Carroll. I mean, he's the odds-on favorite by far in the National League. I'm sure Jordan Walker, having just made the team with the Cardinals, is going to jump up some of the odds lists. But I think Corbin Carroll is still expected to be the guy. He was really impressive in the short period of time that he came up last year. He's, I think, the number 2 rated prospect, only behind Gunnar Henderson coming into this season. He still has his prospect status technically. But I think he's going to steal a ton of bases, going to get on base a bunch, and you watch that Diamondbacks team, they just have this young core spark. Like, they're just going to be a really fun team to watch, and I think Corbin Carroll's going to impress a lot of people this year. And then on the AL side, I got to go with my guy Volpe. He just made the team. He's going to be the Yankees starting shortstop. He's going to be the official heir apparent to Derek Jeter. It's been many, many years, and they haven't really found that guy. He is a notorious slow starter. He started slow at pretty much every level. Like when he went to a new level, it happened at AA, it happened at AAA. Now I expect him probably to start a little slow this year, but being in that really strong Yankees lineup, I expect him to climb up that lineup throughout the year. He's probably going to end up being the leadoff hitter at some point and just keeping that job, assuming he produces. So I am going to give him the edge over Gunnar, who is probably the odds-on favorite in the American League right now. That is technically a higher ranked prospect than him. But I think being in that Yankees lineup, having the New York thing, being on a winning team, I think he's just going to amass better numbers and more eyes are going to be on him. So I think he's the guy. He's going to be the guy this year for the Rookie of the Year in the American League. Cy Young Awards. So I will actually spend 1 minute on something else I have jotted down here. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to just call out a quick dark horse for both of those awards, the Rookie of the Year. My dark horse in the American League is Esteury Ruiz. So he's he was part of that trade to the Athletics. I talked about him a little bit during my AL West preview. The guy stole something like 85 bases or some crazy number in the minor leagues last year. He's one of the fastest players ever in the league, it seems like. So I don't think he's going to get much fanfare. Obviously, playing out in Oakland, the team is dreadful. Nobody goes and watches the games. But if he puts up some sort of obscene, stolen base number, I think that there is a chance that, he could find himself as a dark horse for Rookie of the Year. Also, really depending on how guys like Gunnar and Volpe and others do. And then in the National League, Hayden Wesneski, who's going to be a starting pitcher for the Cubs. He actually was in a Yankees deal. They traded him for Scott Efros last year. He was a Yankees prospect, and he's looked really, really nasty. The guy basically throws frisbees out there. I mean, his off-speed stuff, his ball has so much movement. He looks really nasty. So I think he could be a dark horse as a potential Rookie of the Year candidate in the NL as well. All right, Cy Youngs. A little chalky here, too. Oh, I have Javier Vasquez here for some reason. Or Christian Javier here for some reason. Oh, because he was on my dark horse list. So we'll get to him in a minute. You know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Garrett Cole as my winner and Christian Javier as my dark horse. So I actually forgot I had the dark horse guys in the pile. So going with Cole, I didn't have him as my ERA leader, but I do have him obviously as my strikeout leader. He's actually never won a Cy Young in his career. He's came in second place a few times. He's never won a Cy Young in his entire career. And I think that this is a year that he finally, has that monkey on his back. He gets himself over the hurdle, and does end up winning it. He's going to strike out so many guys. He's going to pitch so many innings. And if he could just get a little bit better luck when it comes to the home run ball, that stuff seems to fluctuate year to year a little bit. I think he ran into a little bit of bad luck with some balls getting poked out last year. He's going to have himself, a low ERA, low threes, high twos, and with the strikeouts, the innings, all that, I'm sure he's going to rack up the wins because the Yankees should be good. I think he's going to be a prime candidate to win the Cy Young this year. And then my dark horse is Christian Javier. He already broke out last year. I actually like him a bit better even than Framber, who I think is technically being considered the ace of the Astros. But he's a guy I think who could really even sneak up on people further, and take his game to the next level and be a real sleeper guy for a Cy Young in the American League. In the National League, also a little bit of a chalky pick, is going to be Corbin Burnes. So I got Corbin Burnes as my primary pick, and then Hunter Green as my dark horse. And you can see here they got this cool Hunter Green Youthquake from that Topps Chrome Sonic set. I did like these inserts quite a bit. I had the green. I think I pulled a Wander Franco too, which was pretty cool. But I think Corbin Burnes is going to be pitching with a chip on his shoulder this year after the way some of that negotiations and things went in his arbitration with the Brewers. I think he's going to be playing for a contract. I think he's going to want out from the Brewers. I do like the Brewers this year, I'll fully disclose, so I don't think that they end up trading him. I think that he's going to be integral to their success. But he's a guy who, again, he pitches a ton of innings. He always has a decent ERA. He strikes out a ton of batters. And I think he's won one Cy Young already. And I think just he's going to be pitching with a chip, like I said, chip on his shoulder, playing for a contract, trying to prove himself to the rest of the league, because the Brewers pissed him off. So I think that he's going to be kind of prime guy to pitch into that. And then I got Hunter Green as a dark horse. Probably a bit of a long shot. He's going to strike out a ton of batters. Obviously, he needs to stay healthy. Who knows what the ERA and other things are going to look like, but if he shows any kind of semblance of control and isn't walking a ton of guys, I think that he could have himself a pretty nasty looking season this year. All right, MVP picks. American League, we got ourselves a winner and a dark horse. I was going to go elsewhere, and you'll see why I didn't later on with my predictions. But I'm going Aaron Judge as the winner and Corey Seager as a dark horse. I'm going Corey Seager as a dark horse. I've just seen him kind of... Everyone seems to be talking about him. I think he had himself a pretty nice spring. Everyone just seems to be like really high on Corey Seager right now for a number of different reasons. Expecting this Rangers team to be pretty good this year. So I'm going to jump on that bandwagon too and just say he kind of has an outside chance. I'm going to go with Aaron Judge to win back-to-back MVP awards. I think he's a really special player. You're going to say, well, how could you possibly pick against Ohtani? Like, there's no way Ohtani loses 2 years in a row. But you'll see why I did that in just a few minutes. So, already talked about Judge, with the home run numbers and just, how special he was last year. I don't think he repeats last year, but I think he was so far ahead of everyone else that it's going to be very difficult for anyone else to close the gap. All right, NL MVPs. We got Juan Soto to win the MVP and Matt Olson as a dark horse. So I think the Braves are going to be very, very good this year. I like them quite a bit, as well as the Padres. I really like the Padres quite a bit too. And look at how scratched up this top loader is. You can really see it in the light here. But I really like the Braves this year, and Olson just seems to be totally locked in, just banging home runs left and right in spring training. I know that doesn't really mean anything. I think Kyle Higashioka for the Yankees hit like 8 home runs last spring training or something, and then didn't hit a home run until like June or July or something funky like that. So you can't overread that, but Olson's a really good player, so I do expect that'll translate, and he just seems really poised for a big year, second year with the Braves. Good lineup around him. You should have Acuna back for a full year. He'll have Riley in that lineup. You have Albies in that lineup. You have Sean Murphy in that lineup now. He's just going to have a really nice lineup around him, and I think he's going to reap a lot of the rewards for that, from that. But my winner here is going to be Juan Soto. I think he is going to have an absolute monster season in the middle of that Padres order, especially once Tatis comes back. This order is really, really scary for me, with Tatis and Soto and Bogarts and Machado, and I know that there's probably someone else I'm missing who's really good. But, even just those 4 guys, I talked about it in the preview video too. Soto had a down year, quote unquote down year last year, and he was still like 50% better than the league average or something crazy like that. So, the guy's a lock for a 400 to 450 OBP. he's going to hit 30 some odd homers. I mean, it's just they're not going to be able to shift on him this year, and he's going to bang balls all over that field, and he's going to have such protection around him. I expect a monster year out of this kid, and he's going to win his first MVP award. All right, let's get into some predictions. I'm going to try to move through these relatively quickly. I can't believe we're 20 minutes in already, and then I'm going to go through divisional winners, and a World Series winner. So my first prediction is related to prospects. I predict that by the end of the year, Marcelo Mayer will be the number 1 prospect in baseball, and that Jason Dominguez of my Yankees will be in the top 5 amongst prospects. So whether you consider that the end of this year or going into the beginning of next year, whenever, is the most relevant time of the refresh of those prospect lists, I think enough guys are going to graduate and Mayer's going to have himself a good enough year that he's going to propel himself to number 1. And then I think Jason Dominguez, he showed me enough this spring. Frankly, he might be up with the big club at some point if there's injuries and other things. But if he retains his prospect status, I expect that we're going to see him in the top 5 going into next season. My next bold prediction, this is probably one of my bolder predictions, is that the St. Louis Cardinals, represented here by this beautiful gold mosaic number 2, just 10 of Paul Goldschmidt, who almost won the Triple Crown last year, won the MVP in the NL. The Cardinals will miss the playoffs. I really like the Cardinals. Their lineup is sick, but there's a lot of really good teams in the National League, and I really like the pitching on the Brewers, and I think they'll hit enough to get themselves into the playoffs. I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit to my divisional stuff, but I think the Cardinals will miss the playoffs in the National League, and the Brewers will win in the Central. Next, I am going to say that Jacob deGrom and Mike Trout will play a full healthy season this year. Maybe that's wish casting on my part because I just really want to see it, but I believe that they will both play full healthy seasons this year and be obviously quite amazing. Do I think, I think Trout could obviously, challenge Judge or potentially Ohtani for an MVP award if he plays a full healthy season, though I don't think the Angels are a playoff team, and I think that'll come into account. And obviously DeGrom in a full healthy season is one of the best pitchers on the planet and could very certainly be in that Cy Young race, but he's just got to rack up enough innings to be able to do it. But I'm going to go with both of these guys to play a full healthy season this year. And then also once he gets back from his suspension, I'm going to say Fernando Tatis too as well. And if it wasn't for the fact that nobody would vote for him, probably just because of the PED suspension and the other stuff that surrounded him in the past year, he would easily be the comeback player of the year in the National League for me. All right, now getting to why, kind of my point around why I did not pick Shohei Ohtani to win the MVP in the AL. I think I think the Angels are not going to be a playoff team. I think they will be better than they were last year. They might be semi-competitive, though I do believe that they give up at some point before the deadline. The more I thought about this, the more I looked at it, that's what I believe will happen. And I think Shohei Ohtani is traded at the deadline for an absolutely massive haul. So I think that if they're not going to retain him, if it doesn't look like they're going to win the division, I don't even think that they're going to bank on a wild card spot and try to come down to that 3-game series. I just don't think that they do it. I think that the value and the haul that they could get for him, they're just going to go for it, and they're going to get and try to plan for the future and hope that they could plan for a team in the post Art Moreno world. So Shohei Ohtani, going to say he doesn't win the MVP just in the chance that he gets traded to the National League. So because it is my prediction that he's going to get traded and he might play in both leagues, I don't think he's going to be in the MVP conversation this year just because of that. If he's traded inside of the AL, he probably will win the MVP. All right, next prediction. I'm going to show these guys off. Ruiz, who we just talked about, Trey Turner. There will be 5 or more 50-plus stolen base guys this year. With the expanded bases, the new rules around shift, so maybe more hit and run, the pickoffs, the pitch clock, the pickoff limits, the pitch clock. I think we're going to see a lot more running than we've seen in past years. I don't think we've had a 50 stolen base guy for 5+ years, and we haven't had more than a handful of 40+ guys in a number of years as well. I'm going to go bold prediction of 5 or more players with 50+. All right, next bold prediction. Julio Rodriguez. I'm predicting Julio Rodriguez will not have the best season of the 2022 rookie class. So when I talk about the 22 rookie class, I'm talking about the rookie class in the hobby. So guys who have rookie cards in all the major products. I'm going to predict that Julio, as incredible and godlike as he was last year and as he is, will not be the highest, most productive player this season. So you're going to have guys like Witt and O'Neal Cruz, and I'm sure there's some pitchers in there that I'm forgetting about, and obviously Wander if he can get himself back healthy. All these guys who are going to be in the mix, and I'm going to go ahead and say that one of them, just one of them, will have a better season than Julio. And that doesn't mean Julio will have a bad year. I just think a lot of those guys take a really big step, and Julio maybe has himself a little bit of a sophomore drawback. All right, next up, I'm going to try to show all these off. I am going to predict that multiple players from the underwhelming 2021 rookie class in the hobby, Kelenic, Hayes, Carlson, Mountcastle, this is a nice one, Andrew Vaughn, Alex Kirilloff, multiple guys in this mix. Not all of these guys, but multiple guys from that class, and these are just some examples of them. There are even others, will finally have their big breakout season. Maybe it'll be Joey Bart. Maybe it'll be someone else. But I think we finally see big breakouts from some of these guys from that 2021 class that has kind of been underwhelming compared to, last year and even 2020 and 2019. That rookie class just wasn't nearly as strong. I think we see some of those guys, and if you watched my preview videos, you'd know that. I pretty much had guys from that class all over my breakout candidates and bounce back candidates list. But I think that there are going to be multiple guys from that class who we're talking about quite a bit this year. My next bold prediction, maybe not a bold prediction, it's probably a pretty reasonable prediction. I'm going to show Reed Detmers here for this prediction. I think there will be no solo no-hitters for the first time since 2005. So Reed Detmers pitched a solo no-no last year. I think he was the only one who did it. There were a couple of combined no-hitters. I think that there will be no solos, maybe a combined, just because of the way that we manage bullpens now and manage pitchers and manage innings. But I'm going to predict no solo no-hitters in the game this year. With the pitch clock and the tempo and pitchers having to adjust and no shift and other things, I think it's very likely that you're going to have games all year where you're not going to get a no-hitter. Excuse me. My next bold prediction is around this guy right here, Lars Nootbaar. There's been a lot of talk about him, World Baseball Classic, playing for Japan. A lot of people are high on him. He's super high on a bunch of sleeper lists. I'm going to predict that he becomes one of the top hitters in the National League. Now, what I mean by that, I'm going to leave it pretty open-ended. Maybe one of the top 10, maybe like a top 25 guy in all of the MLB. But this guy seems absolutely poised to be one of the best all-around offensive players in baseball coming into this season. All right, and my last one, and it mainly was because I just wanted to show off this card. I love this card. I pulled it. I was thinking about selling it. I'm glad I held on to it because I really like the guy. It is Jazz Chisholm. I'm going to predict that Jazz Chisholm will, in fact, win the Gold Glove in center field, just like he told the Marlins he was going to. So that's my last bold prediction. A guy who's never played center field before. I think he's going to go out and win the Gold Glove just like he told everyone he was going to. All right, those are all my predictions. I'm going to run quickly through my divisional winners and then my World Series winner. In the American League, East winner, no-brainer, the New York Yankees. Central winner, I'm going with the Chicago White Sox. I like them a lot this year. I think they have a really good team. I think that with some health between Eloy, Robert, others, they have Oscar Colas coming up, who just made the team. I do like their pitching with Lynn and Giolito and Cease and others. I think, and they're going to get, hopefully get Liam Hendricks back at some point, shore up that bullpen. So I really like the White Sox. Astros in the West, that's a no-brainer until somebody proves they could beat them. They are going to be the reigning guys there. Got this really nice Bo Bichette rookie auto from Gallery. I like this card a lot. I think it was a redemption. Came relatively quickly too. But Blue Jays as a wild card team in the American League, they're a very sexy pick. A lot of people like them. Some people even think that they're going to may potentially dethrone the Yankees. I'm going to go Rangers as a wild card team. Like them a lot this year with the additions of DeGrom. I think that they overhauled that rotation pretty well, and they're always going to hit. And then the last wild card team, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Guardians. So I was debating whether to go with them here. Don't love the Guardians, but they are a good team. It was going to be them or potentially maybe the Angels or the Mariners. But I'm going to give the nod to the Guardians, who were a playoff team and a division winner last year. On the National League side, in the East, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Braves to win the East. I like the Braves a lot. I'm actually surprised that I didn't pick them. This was very hard for me who to pick for the National League pennant. I did not end up picking the Braves, but they are right there for me, really, really high up there. I'm going to pick, and you heard me talk about it earlier, I'm going to pick the Brewers to win the Central. Maybe it's a dumb pick. People seem to be down on this team. I still really like them. I think their pitching is phenomenal. Burns, Woodruff, Peralta. Who's the other guy? I'm forgetting the other guy who's another really solid arm in that rotation. Lauer, who I think is decent, but I don't love him. They have a really nice rotation, and I really like their pitching, and I think that they find a way to win that division on the back of the arms. In the West, we got the Padres, who I absolutely love this year. I've raved about them quite a bit already. Wild cards. We're going to go with the Phillies, the defending National League champions. The Metsies, who it's a World Series or bust every year now under the Steve Cohen regime. And the Dodgers, who I do expect to regress a bit this year. I think they're positioning themselves for Ohtani. They didn't really overhaul the roster like they usually do in past years. They didn't spend money like they have in past years, but they're already so good. They always have good players coming up. They know how to develop pitchers. They know how to get the best out of their players. So while I do think the Padres leapfrog them for the first time in the division, I do think that they will be an easy wild card team. So the three wild card teams in the NL are kind of no-brainers. The Cardinals will be the other ones that are in the mix, but I don't really think anyone else will be particularly competitive. For the World Series, this is kind of a hedge for me. Because if it doesn't happen, if it goes the opposite way, obviously I'll be happy as a fan. But if it does go this way, it's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm going to go the Padres to beat the Yankees in the World Series, a rematch of the 1999 World Series. I think it was the 1999 World Series where the Padres were swept by the Yankees, one of their great dynasty teams. But I'm going to go Padres over Yankees. Obviously, if this is flipped and it goes the other way, I will be super thrilled. But I am very high on the Padres this year. It'll obviously be really, really dependent on this guy right here. But the rotation is nasty. Darvish and Musgrove and Snell. And again, I say this about everything. I feel like there's even another guy that I'm forgetting. But their rotation is going to be one of the best in baseball. Their lineup's going to be one of the best in baseball. They've got a lot, they got a really solid bullpen. I just think this is the year it finally clicks for that team. And we know that their ownership and their organization is not afraid to go out and get the big name and spend the money and make the trades at the trade deadline to make them even better. So that's what I'm thinking for this year. Hope you guys enjoy opening day, enjoy the season. I'll be back later this week. There's a little trip I have down to Florida, but I have a video pre-recorded. I have a Series 1 monster box that I'm going to open up and show off to you guys later on this weekend. But guys, enjoy opening day. Would love to hear from you down in the comments again about just any of your favorite memories from opening day, any of your big bold predictions for the season, or even just benign predictions, anything really, just to get the conversation going, because I'm just very, very excited for baseball season. So as always, like, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate the time. Thank you guys as always for the support. The best is yet to come. Happy baseball season, folks. Take care.